with a defibrillator.
The member for Sturt.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Will the Treasurer inform the House how the Morrison government's certain and stable approach to the economy is creating jobs for hard-working families across Australia, including in my electorate of Sturt, and is the Treasurer aware of any alternative policies?
The Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for Sturt for his question. And he knows that more than 79,000 taxpayers in his electorate will get a tax cut as a result of the legislation that this side of the House supported, Mr Speaker. And around 30,000 will get the full $1,080 in the electorate of Sturt, Mr Speaker. Now, we on this side of the House see it as our job to help create more jobs, Mr Speaker, and we have seen more than 1.4 million new jobs being created on our watch, Mr Speaker. We now have a record number of Australians in work, Mr Speaker. We have a participation rate which is at a record high. And, Mr Speaker, we have a gender pay gap which is at a record low, Mr Speaker, having closed by $1,100 since you were last in office, Mr.
Treasurer will just pause. Treasurer will just pause for a second. Members on my left will cease shrieking, particularly the member for Rankin. I'm just going to remind him he has the matter of public importance this afternoon so far. Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Employment growth is 2.6% today, and when Labor was last in office, it was 0.7%, Mr Speaker, less than a third, Mr Speaker. Now, over the last 12 months, more than 320,000 new jobs have been created, 8 out of 10 of which have been full-time. And in the month of July, we saw more than 41,000 new jobs being created, and unemployment today is 5.2%. And when we came to government, it was 5.7%, Mr Speaker. But I'm asked, are there any alternative approaches? And we know that those opposite have $387 billion of higher taxes, which will cost jobs across the economy, Mr Speaker. All of this is from a party. All of this is from a party that Paul Keating says has lost the ability to speak to the aspirations of people and to fashion policies for their aspirations, Mr Speaker. Now, today when you open the paper on the front page, you see the Labor Party ripping themselves apart, Mr Speaker. You see the Labor Party ripping themselves apart. Now, you've got on one side of the fence, you've got Chairman Wayne and his acolyte, the member for Rankin, Mr Speaker, and on the other side, you've got the member for Grainler and his campaign director, the member for Hindmarsh, Mr Speaker. Now, who is going to win this tug-of-war over Labor's taxes, Mr Speaker? Well, I'll tell you who won't win. That is the Australian people, Mr Speaker, because they know that Labor wants to tax a lot, Labor wants to spend a lot, Mr Speaker, and the Labor Party is always the party of higher taxes, and the coalition is always the party of more jobs and lower taxes.